guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Well, hello, and today is Thursday, December 20th, and it's 3:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I apologize because I uploaded my Q bits yesterday, but didn't realize that Q had actually posted, and I should have been covering those yesterday, but I had not refreshed my I had it up in my browser and hadn't refreshed it, so I was not aware that there was Q posts until after I had uploaded the video. So we're getting to that now. We're going to be going over the Q post from yesterday in this video, and then today Q has posted again. So I'm going to be doing that later on this evening because I want to give him a little bit more chance to post. I'm thinking that there may be more than the posts that are there right now, so I want to be able to capture them all in one video. All right, let's get started. All right, so this is the first post from December 19th that Q left, and it is a link to an article about Flynn, and we're going to go there in a moment. And he said, the clock is ticking. When will the first alarm ring? If the Senate was the primary target, majority control, 53 to 47, active when? Executive order, designated targets, active when? Ongoing investigations. There are a lot of sealed indictments. Sarah Carter. This is an actual quote from Sarah Carter. There are a lot of sealed indictments. Sarah Carter. It's all going to come out. Uranium One, dossier, Clinton Foundation, etc. Sean Hannity. I have pretty good sources. Sean Hannity. There is a reason why Sean Hannity, Sarah Carter, and John Solomon are on stage. Q. So I'm also going to start reading these backwards because I have found that when you read them backwards, it really does increase your understanding of them. And I've been doing that with several Q posts, and I think it really does make a difference. So that's what we're going to do before we look at this link. Q. There is a reason why Sean Hannity, Sarah Carter, and John Solomon are on stage. I have pretty good sources. Sean Hannity. It's all going to come out. Uranium One, dossier, Clinton Foundation, etc. Sean Hannity. There's a lot of sealed indictments. Sarah Carter. Ongoing investigations. ... Now, it's unusual because generally when you're meaning, etc., it's 3 dots, but he leaves 5 there, which leads me to think that there are 5 ongoing investigations. I could be wrong, certainly I could, but here he's done it again. He's left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 periods here and 3 periods here. Now, I don't know. To me, I think everything in a Q post means something. Here, there are 4 periods after majority control. So let's continue to go on reading it backwards. Ongoing investigations. Executive order, designated target, plural, active when? 5347, active when? If the Senate was the primary target, majority control. When will the first alarm ring? The clock is ticking. And then we have the link. Let's go out to the link right now. Flynn hearing leaves the far right's conspiracy theorists wanting. As Mueller investigation has widened and ensnared more members of Trump's team, conspiracy theories of Trump loyalists have been forced to contort in a variety of ways. A year-old conspiracy theory simmering in both far-right message boards and mainstream conservative publications that predicted former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn would be exonerated fell apart on Tuesday at his sentencing hearing, leaving believers perplexed. The rumors, which were pushed heavily by believers in the QAnon conspiracy theory in recent days, predicted that Judge Emmett Sullivan would throw out Flynn's guilty plea and reprimand special counsel Robert Mueller's team for nefarious investigating practices. In reality, Sullivan excoriated Flynn, saying that Arguably, you sold your country out by working as an unregistered foreign agent to Turkey while advising President Donald Trump during his candidacy and clarifying with Flynn that he did not wish to challenge the circumstances under which he was interviewed by the FBI. Flynn's defense attorney suggested last week that he had somehow been entrapped into lying to the FBI. And we know that's exactly what happened. Exactly. And I do have Q-related news. I'm hoping to be able to get to that as well as today's Q post, because we're going to delve into this Flynn thing a little bit, because I don't think it's the way it seems. And obviously, if the news is scrambling with this narrative, we know that things are not the way they seem. That's how I look at this. Now, it says, I was aware that lying to the FBI was a crime, Flynn told Sullivan, adding that he accepted responsibility for his false statements. But the thing is, when they met with, and I do have a video showing that Comey admits as much, that, the interviewer asked him, well, did he know why the FBI was coming? And Comey said, no, we didn't tell him. Well, isn't that entrapment? Seriously. I would say so. Though Sullivan delayed sentencing Flynn for 3 months, noting that Flynn could cooperate further with Mueller's team, he made it clear that a jail term for Flynn remains a possibility. As Mueller's investigation has widened and ensnared more members of Trump's team, conspiracy theories of Trump loyalists have been forced into a variety of contortions to justify the belief that the special prosecutor's actions are working in Trump's favor or an abuse of prosecutorial power. Most of the contortions relied on Flynn being let off by Sullivan, who on Tuesday made clear that that would not be the case. The idea that Flynn holds a lot of secrets about the deep state and won't face serious consequences is important to the QAnon community, said Travis View, a conspiracy theory researcher. They've been banking on Sullivan throwing out the charges. In the last week, conservative media has hailed Sullivan as a hero who is about to unmask the purported misdeeds of the Mueller investigation. The notion that Flynn could end up exonerated found its way into Representative Darrell Issa, who guessed on Fox News Sunday this week that Flynn's case would be thrown out of court. I would not be surprised a bit if the conviction of Flynn is overturned because of the Justice Department and FBI's misconduct, Issa said. The theory began back in February with a series of articles on conservative news websites lauding Sullivan as a government misconduct expert who may be looking to get Flynn to change his plea. Emmett G. Sullivan is one judge who is ready, willing, and able to hold Mr. Mueller accountable to the law and who has the wherewithal to dismiss the case against General Flynn for egregious government misconduct. If Mueller doesn't move to dismiss it himself, wrote lawyer Sidney Powell on the Daily Caller on February 16th. Similar articles from the same week in the Washington Examiner and National Review spawned additional speculation that Sullivan might be indicating that Flynn should change his plea. From there, and I do believe that Sullivan did get Flynn to change his plea, but there's a reason why Flynn didn't do that. Flynn is not a stupid man, and he's being well advised. So, excuse me. So I believe that there's way more to this story than meets the eye. And we know that if this is coming from MSNBC, which I believe it was, is that CBS or MSNBC? I get them mixed up because I really do not watch news from mainstream sources. Anyway, let's see if there's anything else here that we should know. Believers in QAnon, the repeatedly debunked conspiracy theory that Mueller and Trump are secretly working together to take down a global pedophile ring run by Democrats and many celebrities, also grew agitated at Sullivan's inability to adhere to their prophecy. So, yeah. And it's interesting, it says the web's most active pro-Trump community, Reddit's The Donald, hailed Sullivan as an American hero. In one of the site's top posts this past week, Sullivan hasn't been mentioned in the title of a post since the postponement. So we can see clearly the bias with which this is written. And we know that if this is coming from the mainstream news and this is how they are writing it, that it's really the opposite. generally we can pretty much bank on that. So let's go back and pick this up, because I have a few other things involved in this, because it says, okay, we can pull this apart now. The clock is ticking. When will the first alarm ring? Now, when I think of first alarm, I don't know why, but I think of, a several alarm fire, and I don't know. I could be, I could be trying to impose meaning that's not there. But when somebody says, oh, first alarm, to me that's, well, there's going to be another one, maybe? I don't know. First of many alarms? I don't know what he is. Or just that it's the first alarm. It's the first thing to alert you to a problem. I don't know. If the Senate was the primary target, which Q has told us that the Senate was the target, when is it active? And I believe that it's active on July 3rd, because that's when they go back in session, as far as I know. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my belief. And the executive order designated targets active when? Well, we're going to look at that. So I included a few things here to kind of round out our knowledge on this. Here is a POTUS schedule, and I thought this was interesting because it mentions the executive order, and I mentioned this in the Q-related news as well because I thought it was strange. Tuesday, 18th of December, 2018, POTUS has sent a letter to the Speaker of the House extending the national emergency declared in Executive Order 13818 of December 20th, 2017, blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. Now, somebody mentioned to me, and I don't know, I'd have to check this out, that when this was extended, it actually involved property. But that doesn't make sense to me because it was always to do with property. I think that their bank accounts, that's their property. So I don't know. But their assets, any of their assets, that's also their property. Well, not anymore, but anyway, let's look at this as well because I think it will add some understanding. And then I think I added something else here. Of course I did. All right. Let's take a look at this. And I'm just, rather than just read them, I'm trying to kind of help us to gain an understanding of what Q is saying. Keeping in mind that I am human and prone to error as well. So always use your due diligence and caution and check everything out. But anyway, Trump executive order targets the deep state and opens door to full disclosure. Now, I don't know about the full disclosure. The whole, and I'm not sure if they're talking about aliens, but I'm thinking on here, this particular site, they do talk about aliens, so I'm not sure if that's where they're coming from, but I don't believe in aliens. I believe they're demons, but anyway, deep state and opens door to full disclosure, something very profound happening in the U.S. on December 21st with the passage of President Donald Trump's executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. The order declared a state of national emergency concerning human rights and corruption and named specific individuals and organizations that would have their bank accounts and assets frozen regardless of where in the world the abuses had occurred. And of course, they had to do that because a lot of their crimes were not even committed on American soil. So they had to open that up. So you are liable no matter where you are in the world. So while the mainstream media has largely ignored Trump's executive order, the alternative media has been paying close attention. That is very true. Many have noted the executive order is far more significant than what it appears to be on the surface. Rather than just freezing the financial resources of foreign citizens linked to the Russian sphere of influence, as it superficially appears to do, it is really targeted at members of the deep state, aka cabal or Illuminati, that have been involved in human trafficking, pedophilia, and systemic corruption all over the planet. The language of the executive order is very open-ended in terms of how international corruption and human rights abuses threaten U.S. national security. I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the prevalence and severity of human rights abuse and corruption that have their source in whole or in substantial part outside the United States, such as those committed or directed by persons listed in the annex to this order, have reached such scope and gravity that they threaten the stability of international political and economic systems. The United States seek to impose tangible and significant consequences on those who commit serious human rights abuse or engage in corruption, as well as to protect the financial system of the United States from abuse by these same persons. I therefore determine that serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, and I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. Its annex identifies key individuals and organizations, several of whom are clearly associated with Russia. The executive order is linked to the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act that emerged from the murder of a prominent dissident exposing human rights abuses and corruption in Russia. This linkage can easily lead readers into falsely believing that the executive order is solely intended to target corrupt Russian officials and corruption and human rights abuses by countries in Russia's sphere of influence. Yet, as a number of alternative media sources point out, Trump's executive order goes well beyond the Russian sphere of influence. It is really targeting the deep state and fulfilling this 2016 campaign pledge to drain the swamp. For example, Jim Stone, a freelance journalist, writes, the executive order is presented as a national emergency up front right in the beginning. At first, it reads like he's going after foreigners, which are named directly in an annex at the end. That's not what this is. The first part of the order only cements the second part of the order to prevent American criminals from running away to foreign countries and being supported by foreigners. To sum this up, no swamp critter can accept help from another swamp critter in getting away. Child traffickers and other human rights abuses are covered. The stealing of and misuse of government funds is covered. All items are covered for foreigners and U.S. citizens. Any foreigners who have assets in the U.S. that have done anything against the U.S. for the purpose of supporting the American swamp will have those assets seized. Anyone in violation of anything in this executive order will have their assets seized. An anonymous whistleblower using the pseudonym Meganon says the executive order has led to many powerful members of the deep state waking up with no financial resources. Guess what? The swamp's financials froze over while they all slept last night, y'all. It's going to be a long Christmas break for them. They were all broke before sunrise. Now, this was a year ago, okay? And we all speculated that their finances had been frozen because there were several indications of that. And now, a year later, Trump has, extended this executive order, which is interesting. I also find it interesting that the weather report for southeastern United States, all the way up through Washington and so forth, is horrendous storms, over Christmas. I think that's interesting. Do you not? Storm, Christmas. We have the whole SCOTUS, Santa Claus of the United States thing, supposedly going to be revealed around Christmas time. We have everything coming to an apex, and if we get over this holiday season and nothing happens, I think there's going to be mutiny. I really do, because I think people are tired of this, and we're hanging on, and we want to see this, but meanwhile, over here, we've got mainstream media, we've got probably friends and family and other liberal sources, saying you're nuts, you're a conspiracy theory, nothing's happening, open your eyes, wake up. And we're saying, no, open your eyes, wake up. There is something happening, but, we know that there are things going on behind the scenes, but we need something to break, basically. So it's interesting about this executive order and what it means. There's a lot more to this, and I really don't want to be reading long articles, because people get tired of people reading, but I do want to give you an idea. So hopefully this has helped, and let's go back here because it looks like I have something else down here that I wanted to show y'all. And yes, interesting. Acting Attorney General Whitaker has been cleared to oversee the Trump-Russia investigation. So remember when, okay, I just lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens. I really hate that. Remember when Q was talking about Scaramucci? I think that was his name. And, he was only there for a short while and he did some dirty work while he was there and then he was gone, and compared that to Whitaker. So Whitaker has been cleared. He will be overseeing the Trump-Russia investigation, and I think he's going to be doing a lot of work and then getting out of Dodge. That's what I think. And here, this is just a collection of that. Top Senate Democrat Schumer, Whitaker should recuse himself from Russia probe, and the New York Post, acting attorney general doesn't have to recuse himself from Russia probe, and The Hill, Whitaker told he doesn't need to recuse himself from Mueller probe, and Exclusive, Whitaker told he does not need to recuse himself from overseeing Mueller investigation. And down here it says no recusal. I believe this was from an Anon. It was. So, but I wanted to include that because it's interesting that he's been cleared. So, lots of stuff happening, lots of stuff converging. So, and I get the feeling, and I've used this analogy before, it's like, some of these countries that make those beautiful Persian rugs, you turn it over and it's like a mass of threads. And you think, this is a mess. And there's all these threads converging and, this is just a big mess. You turn it over and it's like, oh my gosh, the picture's clear once it's been turned over. Well, I have a feeling something's about to get turned over and we're about to see how all these threads converge, and it's going to paint a big picture. That's what I think. All right, let's go on to the next one. And Q, making reference to the post that we just looked at, continues on and says, why does the fake news media continually attack A, as they say, why does the fake news media continually attack A, as they say, so-called only a conspiracy, nothing to see here, lonely guy behind a keyboard movement, the largest media companies in the world giving so much attention, Washington Post leading the attack, logical thinking always wins, Q. And he's right. Why would they be wasting time on this if it was just a conspiracy theory? Because really, would you be wanting to give attention to it? I don't think so. If they really believed it was a conspiracy, would they really be paying any attention to it whatsoever? Or would they just be like, we're not wasting, space on that. We're not wasting our breath on that. That's ridiculous. No, they don't do that. They take up airtime, they take up space, editorial space in magazines or on the internet. It's all focused on, debunking Q. Why? If it's just a lonely guy behind a keyboard, what's the big deal? And what's the big deal if a bunch of us want to believe that this lonely guy behind the keyboard is, giving us information? So what? If that's what they believe, it's just a lonely guy behind a keyboard and it's feeding information to people that they believe, well then what's the harm? What are they afraid of? Who cares, right? Well, we know that they do care. And of course, Washington Post is leading the attack because it's owned by Jeff Bezos, who also owns Amazon. So there you go. All right. And here is the next drop from December 19th, and it has a link to a video. Now, again, I can't go out and play that video, but I'll tell you which one it is. It's the one we've seen dozens and dozens of times, and if you have not seen it, I recommend you do. Simply Google, "This video will get Donald J. Trump elected," and you will find it. It's the video, "Our Movement," and it's very, very well done. Unfortunately, the music in it is copyrighted. So I wish there was a way to strip out the music in it, but it wouldn't be as poignant without the music anyway. So I would suggest that you listen to it if you haven't. Just simply Google, "This video will get Donald J. Trump elected." Then Q says, this is not another 4-year election. ... 4 dots. Listen very carefully. Period. Power returned to the people. Long-term solutions. Panic. Q. See, why is the deep state panicking? They're panicking because, really, realistically, if you're a Democrat, all you need to think is, okay, well, you know what? The guy's out in 4 years, and we'll win, and we'll take it back, and, it'll all be okay. But no, this isn't just another 4-year election, and they know that. And what he means by that is, what is the sense if somebody comes in for 4 years, for 8 years, and cleans out, if the power structure is the same and it's just going to be returned to the swamp after those 8 years? What have we gained? Absolutely nothing. We've had an 8-year reprieve, which is wonderful, but in the long term, it's no long-term solution. But Q is saying that this is going to be a long-term solution. It's not just another 4-year election. This is bigger than that. It's about changing the power structure, returning the power to the people. And I don't think that this means, as some have postulated, that it means this isn't just another 4-year election because I'm never leaving office. No, I don't believe that. So there you go. And no wonder they're panicking. They don't want their power structures torn down. They don't want things changed. They're in control. They enrich themselves on the backs of the American people. They're parasites. We pay them with our taxes to rip us off. That's right. Anyway, so then the last post, which is arguably, but I believe, one of the most poignant posts, because Q says, D-Day patriots, we will have our country back. Q plus. So if this holds true to the other Q post, then this is actually POTUS aboard Air Force One, who's dropping this on the HN board in flight. And it says D-Day Patriots with the D in kill box and D, fourth letter of the alphabet. I don't know if that makes any difference. Maybe he's talking about January 4th. We know that that Congress is back in session and everybody goes back to work on the 4th. I also noticed that Trump, and I think this was tweeted from POTUS schedule, but it noted that the 24th was a federal holiday for all federal workers. It was going to be a holiday, and only those that were needed for national security would be at work. Essentially, tomorrow will be the last day of business before Christmas. I mean, I guess Saturday is sort of, but not really. It's not a banking day. So, I don't know how all that plays in and what, but it's interesting. There's a storm approaching over Christmas. We've got the whole Santa Claus of the United States thing that's very strange. And we have this D-Day. Now, some have postulated it's the 21st, which is tomorrow. I don't know, because again, tomorrow, the 21st, is the last, real day before Christmas. I mean, business as usual day. So, I don't know. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think that D-Day is? I don't think he's talking about D-Day, the real D-Day. I think this is a new D-Day. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your comments. You guys leave some very well thought out comments, and I learn a lot from some of them. Things, just little things that you add that just helps round everything out, and it helps us all. I appreciate that. I will be back later this evening. Of that, you can be assured, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. So I hope you guys have a great evening, and I will talk to you again real soon. Take care. Until then, stay blessed.